Single-family housing is now dead. Just kidding. But there are some amazing ways that people who own single-family houses can now convert their single-family home into a fourplex. So what's going on, guys? My name is Sean. I'm a real estate investor and hard money lender based in the Bay Area. And on this channel, we go over real estate investing tips, strategies, and current events to help you guys become real estate investing bosses. So as you guys know by now, Governor Newsom has survived being recalled, and he's still our governor for the next few years. And very quickly after surviving his recall, he actually signed a bill called SB 9. So Senate Bill 9 essentially allows a single-family homeowner in California to create a duplex on their lot. And it also allows them to split their single-family lot into two lots. So if you're trying to maximize it, you can actually create two duplexes on two lots where a single-family lot would be originally. So now a single-family homeowner can maximize their potential and create two duplexes where a single-family home used to be. This is part of a growing push that local governments are doing to create more housing units in residential neighborhoods. In the past, Berkeley actually voted to eliminate single-family housing, and San Jose was next to consider the issue next month. Now, of course, there are some restrictions to splitting these lots and creating these duplexes. First of all, these lots need to be at least 1,200 square feet after splitting up, and each duplex must be at least 800 square feet, which isn't going to be too hard considering that most single-family homes have at least 4,000 square foot for their lots. Now, of course, there's always going to be two sides to the story here. So on the one side, you have opponents who are worried that creating such dense housing in these residential neighborhoods is going to kill the character of that neighborhood. You're not going to have that Leave It to Beaver neighbors, and you're just going to have a bunch of population in a dense area. However, supporters are obviously seeing this as a way to combat the housing crisis. The housing crisis here in California has long been a major concern for citizens. In a past poll, 89% of people are concerned with homelessness, and 86% of the residents are saying that the cost of living expenses are just way too high. Gavin Newsom quotes, "The housing affordability crisis is undermining the California dream for families across the state. It threatens our long-term growth and prosperity. And to make a meaningful impact on this crisis, it will take bold investments, strong collaboration across sectors, and political courage from our leaders and communities to do the right thing and build housing for all." So when Newsom took office, he actually took a lot of bold measurements to combat the housing crisis. And in his first year, he had a budget for over $1 billion to tackle homelessness and $1.7 billion to fight the housing crisis. In the past, Newsom changed single-family zone regulations by signing legislation that allows single-family home owners to build an ADU or in-law suite on their properties. So now with this new bill, you can now create up to 4 units on your properties. Now at the same time, Newsom also signed SB 10, which streamlines processes for new multifamily housing near transit areas and in urban areas. It simplifies zoning requirements for the California Environmental Quality Act, which developers in the past have complained can bog down their projects for years. Newsom has also signed SB 8, which extends the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. The act basically speeds up the approval process for large development projects. It curtails the government's ability to limit the amount of units per property, and it reduces the overall fees. The act was set to expire in 2025, and now it won't expire until 2030. Overall, I think this is a great step in the right direction. In the past, these zoning laws have prevented people from creating new developments. All the red tape, all the different processes, it creates a lot of extra costs that eventually gets passed on to the new home buyer. In the past, governments often had different solutions to the housing problem, but ultimately we found just through experience that when you reduce the regulation, or at least you make it easier to have things pass through, again, as long as everything is safe and done to code, you're gonna have more housing supply. And having more housing supply will ultimately reduce this housing crisis. Things like rent control, or even the CARES Act that had eviction moratoriums, they don't really help the housing crisis. In fact, it might make it even worse because now you have less supply on the market. And so the few homes that are on the market actually get increased even more because you have a lack of supply. So really the only true way to increase the supply is to make it easier for developers to build. And as we've seen even on this channel, the lack of housing supply has caused property values to explode in value over the past few years. And it's basically made it really hard for new families to buy a home without major assistance from friends or family. Now, while I think SB 9 is a great step in the right direction, while it allows a single-family home owner to create a fourplex on their property, I think in reality, it might actually be a little bit impractical, if not really difficult to execute. Because for instance, the only people who are really going to do this are people who first, they own their single-family property, they've lived in it for 3 years, they have the financial means to actually convert the properties, and they have the desire of changing their primary residence into a fourplex. So all those 4 things make it really difficult for this to actually get implemented. Because first of all, not a lot of people can afford a single family property in the first place. But not only that, not only do you have to own the property, but you also have the financial means to finance the construction. We're seeing this right now with the whole ADU thing. People are buying single family homes and they're thinking of creating an ADU in the back to rent it out and make some income from it. But then what happens is when they buy their property, they're tapped out of their loan amount. They go for the max loan that they possibly can. They buy the best house that fits their budget. In a place like the Bay Area, they're often paying way over asking just to get that one home. So there's often not enough equity left to then get another loan for your ADU rehab project. So the same thing is going to happen here. Like, I don't see banks really just giving you a loan to convert your single family home into a fourplex, or in this case, 2 duplexes. So you're going to need a lot of equity in your home to take out a construction loan or a cash out refinance or a HELOC. Otherwise, you're not going to have the funds to actually do the project in the first place. Then second of all, because you have to live in the property for 3 years, this basically cancels out all of the major developers out there. These are all going to be small one and done mom and pop type of deals where they have a home and they've lived in it for a while and now they're ready to convert it into a fourplex. It's not going to be some major flipper who's doing this. It's not going to be some major developer who's changing 1 unit into 4 units. It's going to be just one-offs here and there. And then finally, if you're doing this for your primary residence, it's one thing to add an ADU in the back that doesn't really disturb the main structure. You can still have your main home. You have an ADU in the back and tenants just kind of go from the backyard and live there. And it doesn't really affect you personally. In this case, you're gonna have to split the lot and then create 2 duplexes. So your primary home is basically gonna get demolished. Who really wants to do that for their primary residence? A 6,000 square foot lot is pretty good and it can support like a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home on the lot. So you split that in half, now you're gonna feel really cramped. So basically, I don't really see it being super practical. You can maximize it and make it to a fourplex. In reality, maybe they'll just make everything into duplexes. Who knows? And according to UC Berkeley's Turn Center for Housing, they're thinking that at most, it's going to create around 700,000 additional units, if that. So anyways, long story short, I believe that this is an amazing right step in the right direction. It seems like Governor Newsom is pretty focused on solving the housing crisis, and he's thinking of the long-term steps. Like I mentioned earlier, rent control, eviction moratoriums, those are all good and dandy for people who have housing now, but it's really bad for people who are looking for housing in the future. Really, the only way that we can solve the housing crisis is to enable developers to go in to do what they need to do. Make it easier, streamline the process, reduce the overall fees, and we're going to see more and more housing. But these are my thoughts on SB 8, 9, and 10. Let me know your thoughts and if you think this is the step in the right direction, or if this is a bill that absolutely should not have been passed. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you guys have enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor and just take 2 seconds to smash the like button to let YouTube know that you guys enjoy videos just like this one. And of course, if you want more great real estate investing content, then I highly encourage you guys to subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.